All right, we've done it. Essay number 69, Beauty of a Benevolent Life. We're here reading American Miscellany, published in 1865. It's a collection of essays. We've just finished an essay on the cultivation of the mind. And now we're moving on to our next topic here on page 159 of American Miscellany. This would be essay number 69, The Beauty of a Benevolent Life. Without an enlarged consideration of the nature of things, it might be supposed that every man should devote himself to his own welfare, and never feel obliged to render assistance to others. Can not everyone attend to his own interests better than a second person can attend to them? And does not evil rather than good ensue when each man neglects his own individual concerns and devotes himself to the affairs of his neighbor? But the author of our Constitution has not proceeded on the principle of concentrating the activities of every individual upon himself. He has chosen to diffuse them from each person as a center through the area of a large circle. He has not made the human ear so that it shall be turned inward for hearkening to the circulation of the blood and to the sound of every movement of a muscle or a nerve, but he has made it so that it shall turn its attention outward and shall take in the music that floats along the air and open itself to the whispering zephyrs and the roar of the waterfalls. God has not made the human eye so that it shall introvert its gaze and look behind itself at the curious play of the nerves and tendons and the network of veins and arteries, but he has so made the eye that it shall look outward and extend its range over long-drawn valleys and the winding course of rivers and along the sweep of the heavens. Neither has he made the human heart so that it shall find its true repose in clustering its affections around itself, but the mother will cling to her child, and the child will reach out its arms to his mother. The parent diffuses cheerfulness through the family circle, and one family imparts of its pleasures to the neighborhood, and the neighborhood feel an interest in the town, and the town in the nation, and the nation in the countries of the world. Depraved as is the heart of man, it was yet made for benevolent action, and will never be in its due health and vigor unless it exercise itself for the welfare of the world. As the luminary of day was not created so that all its rays will converge to one point, but rather so that they will diverge throughout the whole system of planets, and as it gives light to the moon, but the moon instantly imparts the bright gift to earth, and the earth reflects it for the use of man, so the human constitution was never designed for contracting its agencies within the sphere of its own good, but for diffusing its radiance throughout the whole family to which it belongs. Benevolence is the fundamental law of our moral being, and the man who labors for his fellow men secures thereby the gratification of his most commanding principles of action. But he who labors for himself alone stirs up against his own peace some of the most operative elements of his nature. The deity knew well that a disposition to labor for selfish ends is destructive of man's true interests, and that a disposition to labor for the common good is the only sure way of securing good for self. Therefore has he devolved on us many acts of beneficence, which he might himself have performed as easily as omitted. He might speak a single word to the Hindu widow as she ascends the funeral pile of her husband, and she would go down again in her right mind, but he chooses to set the spectacle before our own eyes, and to let us hear the shrieks of the self-immolating woman, so that our compassion may be moved and our energies enlisted in her service. He calls us to the banks of the Ganges and bids us look upon the mother forcing from her breasts the child that weeps and struggles to remain with her, and throwing it into the stream where the eager alligators are gamboling for their prey. He could easily rebuke the frantic mother, and she would press her loved one close to her bosom, but he chooses to touch our pity and appeal to our benevolence, and to command us to send his gospel into all the world, that it may cast out the demons of superstition, and may let the bondslaves of heathenism go free. He bids us walk in our imaginations over the dolorous way traveled by the car of a juggernaut, and walled on either side with the bones of crushed victims. He sets before our eyes hundreds and thousands of living men hanging from transverse beams. Oh, goodness, I'm allergic to violence. He sets before our eyes hundreds and thousands of living men hanging from transverse beams upon hooks that have perforated their muscles and swinging round and round in torture. He places all these barbarous scenes before our vision, so that the eye may affect the heart, and the heart may be roused to a holy purpose. For us to do, the work is left. For our good it is that we address ourselves to the work in earnest, for the highest good of our whole character, the good of benevolence encouraged, of philanthropy developed, of a spiritual temper cherished and strengthened, a good purchased at great expense, even the miseries of our own fellow men, they suffering, so that we may be made more compassionate. It got dark.